We're going live to the Information Ministry, where we'll be hearing a little bit more about the communication service tax.
But they suddenly decided to stop that practice when nothing had changed, apart from the 3% increase in the rate of the existing tax. Get Fund, NHIL, and VAT levies are all deducted based on usage and not on an upfront deduction upon recharge. The ministry met network operators and the regulator on 7th and 8th October 2019, just a week after this tax came into effect, on this unusual practice, which flew in the face of industry experience. And we were informed by the network operators that they took advantage of the 3% increase to pass on the entire tax to subscribers. This has effectively increased their profit margins at the expense of subscribers, when there has been no other change in their operational environment. Whatever they may have lost in absorbing the 6% CST, they more than made up for it by refusing to roll over credit that had been paid for by consumers but remained unused on the expiration of the bundle period. They are now effectively robbing consumers by passing on the full tax while retaining the unused data and voice bundles. Upon receipt of numerous complaints from consumers, the ministry has given policy directives for all mobile network operators, broadband wireless providers, and internet service providers to the regulator NCA to ensure the immediate implementation of the following. I've lost the page. One, CST should be treated the same way VAT, Get Fund, National Health Insurance Levy, and all other taxes imposed on entities doing business in Ghana are treated. The extraordinary upfront deduction of CST and notification of same to subscribers must stop with immediate effect. 2, all unused voice and data bundles purchased by subscribers should not expire and must be rolled over with the next recharge. 3, network operators will be subjected to strict compliance with existing quality of service standards to ensure value for the subscribers' money in accordance with their license obligations. There are examples of companies which roll over unused data bundles, even here in Ghana. Vodafone fixed broadband customers are able to keep their remaining data only if they top up before their bundle expires. This means at the expiry date of your bundle, if you don't top up, you lose all your remaining data. The new policy directive only means that all subscribers will enjoy what was limited to only Vodafone fixed broadband subscribers, and there will be no discrimination in the treatment of subscribers. MTN fixed broadband customers also required a specified minimum airtime on their fixed broadband number before the expiry date to keep their remaining data, whereas prepaid customers lost all remaining data after the date of expiry unless they had opted for rollover. The directive means all MTN subscribers will enjoy their unused voice and data upon recharge, regardless of the type of service they are on. Self-line customers who purchase a bundle before the expiry date enjoy automatic rollover, but after expiry date, they lose the remaining data bundle. This practice must stop with a directive, and all customers must enjoy the unused voice and data bundles they have already paid for, regardless of time of recharge. Airtel Tigo is currently running big-time data bundles for data that doesn't expire. The new data bundles are available to all Airtel Tigo prepaid subscribers, including new and existing customers. And all data packs have no validity date. This is what all operators are now required to do with the directive. We will also countenance no excuses for poor service quality and encourage all customers to report any issues of poor service, quality of service, or substandard user experience to the regulator for remedial action. We will work with the operators to resolve any issues they may have, but will expect the same cooperation from them in complying with their license conditions. We're committed to the implementation of the necessary policies, protocols, and laws governing and securing our cyberspace. Our security agencies and judiciary must be equipped to investigate and prosecute cybercrimes. Technology is developing at a very fast pace, and Ghana needs to develop a cadre of intelligent, hardworking cyber analysts and specialists to support system and network security operations. We all have a part to play to sustainably fund the cybersecurity initiatives for our own benefit, and this CST increase is geared towards supporting some of the initiatives government is putting in place to protect our digital infrastructure for our collective peace of mind. The UK is spending £5 billion over 5 years for its cybersecurity program. We cannot do as much, but the little we get from this CST increase is better than burying our heads in the sand and hoping we will not suffer any cyber attack. That's the recipe for disaster. We need about $100 million for the first year alone to implement our cybersecurity strategy, and about $250 million over 5 years. This is a mere fraction of what more developed economies are spending on cybersecurity. The criminals aren't asleep, so it will be foolhardy on our part to pretend that we are okay. While this CST alone cannot provide all the needed funding for our cybersecurity efforts, it is a concrete step towards the initial funding for building a robust and resilient cybersecurity architecture, and will provide seed funds for the cybersecurity fund envisaged in the draft cybersecurity law. It is always better to be safe than sorry. Implementation of SIM re-registration. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, Ghana enacted the Subscriber Identity Module SIM registration regulations in 2011, primarily to reduce mobile phone related crimes such as prank calls, cybercrime, mobile money fraud, and its related issues, and improve upon our general security. It is also intended to help law enforcement agencies to identify the SIM card owners, track criminals who use phones for illegal activities, curb incidents such as phone theft, hate text messages, mobile fraud activities, inciting violence, kidnapping, and to combat crimes such as SIM box fraud. I dare say if we had had an effective SIM registration system, it would have been quicker to catch those who kidnapped and eventually murdered the Takrady girls. SIM registration also enables subscribers to be properly identified for the use of value-added services such as mobile banking, mobile money, and electronic payment services. Due to the crucial nature of SIM registration and its security implications for the country, network operators were required to ensure SIMs were registered properly before activation on the mobile network to avoid inconsistencies and fake subscriber identity. Even though the regulations are still in force, they are not being enforced due to the lack of an acceptable fake-proof ID card system and non-existence of verification by a national database to ensure the traceability of individuals who register cards. Currently, there is no solution in place to integrate all the databases of card issuing agencies for the seamless verification of IDs used for registration of SIMs to be effectively conducted. In addition to this, the Ministry of Communications has also noted other deficiencies of the existing SIM card registration regime in Ghana, including the sale of pre-registered SIM cards, the use of pre-registered SIM cards, and fraudulent registration of SIM cards. All of these activities are proscribed by law. These deficiencies facilitate fraudulent activities perpetrated through the use of mobile phones, such as mobile money fraud, illegal SIM swap, illegal termination of international traffic, leading to loss of revenue to the state, impersonation, and cybercrime. Though some IDs submitted for registration of SIMs may have been valid, due to the poorly implemented manual verification process, millions of SIMs registered have been rendered invalid because of non-verification of these IDs electronically with the databases of card issuing agencies. Some network operators also hired illiterate or semi-literate agents to perform SIM registration on commission basis, i.e. the network operators paid agents according to the number of subscribers they registered per day. Due to the monetary considerations, some agents cut corners and pre-registered several SIMs with different IDs to sell to unsuspecting clients seeking SIM cards. Reports received from some subscribers indicate that some agents registered SIMs without taking subscriber ID details, while others presented valid IDs for registration. But later checks indicated their SIMs were registered in the names of other persons they did not know. Others indicated that some agents gave them an option to either buy a pre-registered card or queue to register. And obviously, some subscribers opted for the pre-registered SIMs to save time. It is quite clear that the current SIM card registration regime is deficient and fraught with many challenges, defeating the purpose of the SIM registration regulations. Mindful of this, Cabinet earlier this year directed the Minister for Communications to instruct all telecommunications companies to fully comply with the law governing SIM card acquisition, which requires the presentation of a valid ID document prior to registration. The NCA has been directed to establish an efficient solution to link all existing databases and ensure strict compliance with the law on the acquisition and registration of SIM cards in Ghana. This will restore confidence and trust in the entire RCT ecosystem and enhance the activities of the law enforcement agencies in clamping down on crime associated with the use of these SIM cards. The ministry has consulted all relevant stakeholders and hereby announces that from 1st January 2020, we will all be required to re-register our SIM cards. Any SIM card which is not registered will be deactivated by June 2020, giving a 6-month time frame for this exercise. We entreat all citizens, residents, and visitors to cooperate with us to ensure the success of this exercise for our collective security. Implementation of the ECOWAS Free Roaming Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, the ECOWAS Free Roaming Initiative was proposed by ECOWAS Ministers of Communications and ICT during their meeting in Niger in 2016. And in 2017, these ECOWAS ministers adopted Regulation C/Reg 21/12/17 on roaming on public mobile communications networks in the ECOWAS region. This regulation is binding on Ghana. This initiative will reduce roaming rates within the ECOWAS sub-region to promote cross-border investments and encourage competition among operators to reduce call charges. The implementation of the ECOWAS roaming initiative will also enhance regional integration and economic development and facilitate our hosting of the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area. It is worth noting that the free movement of goods and persons in the West African region has been of immense benefit to citizens of all member states, and the free visa has eliminated the stress of visa acquisition for travel within the ECOWAS region. Due to the high cost of roaming charges, many people currently practice plastic roaming by buying a local SIM in the countries they visit or use over-the-top services on Wi-Fi networks. During the just ended 16th ECOWAS meeting of telecommunications and ICT ministers in Burkina Faso from the 1st to the 4th of October 2019, one of the key issues discussed was the state of preparedness of each country in the implementation of free roaming in our sub-region after the commitment given by ministers in 2016 and 2017. The roaming initiative is a people-centered policy which will revolutionize the communication pattern of citizens in the ECOWAS region. Experience from other regions that have implemented free roaming in their jurisdictions demonstrate exponential growth in traffic volumes with corresponding revenue increases. This has meant more revenue for network operators and undoubtedly increased tax revenue for governments. The current dispensation records minimal volumes of traffic, i.e. voice, SMS, and data, and this brings in minimal tax revenue to government. Implementation of the ECOWAS roaming initiative will enhance our revenue generation in the ECOWAS corridor, similar to that experienced in other free roaming zones, and also remove barriers to communication for subscribers. It is a multi-country initiative involving 15 countries from Cape Verde to Nigeria for the creation of a harmonized enabling environment for the international mobile roaming market to ensure affordable access to roaming services for voice, SMS, and data. The European Union, South African Development Community, East African Community have all implemented free roaming for their citizens. It is time for West Africa to also join the initiative. At the Ouagadougou meeting, all the ministers of the ECOWAS member states, Ghana included, committed to complete all the legal and administrative processes required to facilitate this initiative by the fixed deadline of 31st December 2019. This means that the 6-cent surcharge on all incoming international calls must be removed for all ECOWAS traffic, and we are in consultation with the Ministry of Finance for this to be done during the 2020 budget hearings. All operators in Ghana must also conclude roaming agreements with operators in the ECOWAS region by 31st December 2019. And all countries must have a proper fraud management system to combat any possible abuse of this initiative. Fortunately, our common monitoring platform has fraud prevention capabilities. An accurate SIM registration system should also be established to facilitate reconciliation between countries. And as just announced, we are in the process of doing so. A committee comprising the regulator, NCA, all network operators, Ministry of Finance, GRA, Law Enforcement and National Security, chaired by the Ministry of Communications, will be established immediately to facilitate the implementation of this initiative by the end of this year. From January 1st, 2020, all ECOWAS citizens traveling within the region will experience no roaming tariffs, but will roam at local rates. Implementation of the Central Equipment Identity Registry. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, Ghana has about 34 million mobile subscribers with a mobile penetration rate exceeding 119%. It is a huge market for mobile devices. However, some subscribers use substandard and smuggled devices, resulting in cybersecurity challenges. It also has health implications and poses a revenue loss for importers, the government, and operators. Mobile device manufacturers estimate that about 5 million genuine mobile devices are imported into the country annually. The unregulated market in Ghana has resulted in a thriving device black market with sales of substandard mobile devices, a high incidence of device theft, and cloning of devices. I understand that we have a thriving market in unblocking blocked phones. This is all illegal. Substandard and smuggled devices are sold through visible retail sites, unofficial retail outlets, and online websites. Registered businesses have to deal with unfair competition from these devices, which are cheaper and threaten the survival of legitimate businesses. To address the challenges of the thriving trade in substandard equipment, the Ministry will establish a central equipment identity registry to register all devices in the country and reduce the influx of stolen, substandard, and counterfeit mobile devices. The CEIR has the capability of blocking all unregistered mobile devices and preventing them from operating on any network in Ghana. The Ghana CER will be connected to the Global System for Mobile Communications Association, GSMA database, to access the unique identifier, IMEI, of approved and blacklisted devices. This will ensure that mobile devices entering the country are properly authenticated and give us an idea of the scale of use of grey or black market devices in Ghana. The CEIR will also be connected to the Equipment Identity Registry databases of all mobile network operators in Ghana to synchronize and update data on blacklisted and whitelisted devices in Ghana. This will ensure that only approved mobile devices recognized by the CEIR would function in Ghana. It will generate and store a list of all blacklisted and whitelisted devices in our own repository. This registry will also be connected to the National Communications Authority and security agencies to minimize device theft and the use of substandard and counterfeit mobile devices. I dare say it will also encourage the growth of insurance of mobile devices in this country as well. Current technology trends in the manufacture of mobile devices demonstrates its possible utility for e-voting, e-commerce, access to government services, etc. It is therefore important to ensure data confidentiality, integrity, protection, and security of mobile devices. This is what the CEIR will do as it promotes security, confidence, and trust in the digital infrastructure of the country and generates greater user acceptance. It will also eliminate device theft as it will reduce and discourage mobile device theft threats by enabling individual operators to prevent the use of stolen registered handsets on their networks. We have had one stakeholder meeting with mobile device dealers and importers, but will have more interactions with all interested parties to fashion out the modalities for implementation of the Ghana CEIR, which will become operational in 2020. Further updates on its establishment will be provided in due course. Update on FM audit and radio station closures. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, as we may recall, in 2017, the National Communications Authority, NCA, embarked on an audit of all authorized FM radio broadcasting stations in Ghana. As a result of the audit findings, the NCA imposed pecuniary sanctions on FM stations found to have been operating with expired authorizations or committing other infractions. Dissatisfied with the authority's decisions, some of the defaulting radio stations, in accordance with due process, filed individual appeals at the Electronic Communications Tribunal, ECT, in November 2017, whilst other defaulting stations filed as a group under the auspices of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. On 18th June 2018, the ECT panel chaired by Professor Dateba, Supreme Court Judge, retired, delivered its unanimous decision in the case of Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA, versus the NCA. Appeal number ECT APP 02-2017. The tribunal quashed the pecuniary penalties imposed by the NCA, but it also stated that a company, a person with an expired FM radio authorization reverts to the same position as a fresh applicant, and as such did not have a valid authorization with which to operate. In effect, the NCA was directed to close down all such stations as they had no right to operate. The NCA had preferred the easier option of a pecuniary fine and regularization of the defective FM authorization, but was compelled to obey the ECT decision to shut down defaulting stations. Subsequent to this decision, the authority in December 2018 took steps to ensure that all such stations operating with expired authorizations were closed down, since they didn't have a valid authorization with which to operate. They were, however, given the opportunity to submit fresh applications for consideration on a case-by-case basis. Dissatisfied with this decision as well, one of the defaulting radio stations, Mediama FM Limited, again appealed to the ECT, arguing, amongst others, that since they had already submitted their application for renewal of their authorization, the authority had no right to close them down. In its ruling on this application for stay of execution pending appeal in the instant case of Mediama FM Limited versus National Communications Authority, delivered on 1st April 2019, the same Justice Dr. Ban-led panel dismissed Mediama FM's application and upheld the NCA's position that any renewal application submitted after the expiration of an authorization was invalid and as such could not be processed. The tribunal stated clearly that the only remedy available to any such station is to submit a fresh application to the authority for consideration. The authority was therefore well within its rights to close down stations operating without authorization. Subsequent to this decision, the authority again closed down some stations in May and June 2019 for operating without valid authorizations. Once again, some stations filed fresh appeals in the ECT in June 2019. Let me just give you some statistics on the FM audit. A total of 144 FM stations were identified for various infractions with the authorizations from the 2017 FM audit. 57 out of the 144 were closed down in 2014, 2018, and 2019, following the decisions of the Electronic Communications Tribunal. In accordance with the decisions of the ECT, 30 out of the 57 stations have submitted fresh applications for FM authorizations, of which 15 have been processed and issued. The applications for the remaining 15 stations are still being processed, and the outcome will be communicated to them after they have gone through all the requisite processes, including technical review, management review, and board approval. Needless to say, their previous conduct will also be factored into the review process. 27 out of the 57 stations that were closed down have not submitted fresh applications for new FM authorizations. It is factually incorrect and a blatant untruth to say, as some, including former President Mahama and the Media Foundation for West Africa, who really ought to have known better, have sought to portray that only opposition radio stations have been targeted for closure using the law. No such intention actuated this exercise, and I am not sure we can claim that all the 144 stations in breach of the Electronic Communications Act were NDC or opposition radio stations. I know for a fact that a station owned by the current Deputy Speaker, Honorable Joe Osei-Wusu, who cannot be an opposition member, has been closed down. I know of only two, XYZ and Radio Gold, which fall within the NDC fold. And the latter, Radio Gold, had operated without renewing their authorization for 16 years. They are certainly not untouchable or above the law, as some would have us believe. Resignation of chairperson of the ECT and composition of new members. While all these cases were pending before the tribunal, the chairman of the tribunal, Justice Dateba, submitted his resignation letter to the Public Services Commission, the appointing authority, in June 2019. In his resignation letter, he stated that his resignation was to take effect on 1st July 2019. He did not cite pressure from any quarter as the reason for his resignation, and I certainly have never spoken to any member of the tribunal concerning their work. The Public Services Commission accepted his resignation and decided to recompose the tribunal's panel and announced the appointment of new members in August 2019. The new panel, however, could not start sitting until after the legal vacation. The new panel, chaired by Dr. Kisi Ejabeng, resumed sitting on 8th October 2019. It is therefore untrue to say that the Public Services Commission has refused to reconstitute the ECT, as the former president intimated. To put it mildly, JM goofed again. Discontinuance of legal actions by some defaulting FM stations. During the intervening period, some stations that had instituted actions before the tribunal against the NCA filed notices of discontinuance. At its sitting on 8th October 2019, the tribunal considered the notices of discontinuance and accordingly struck out the appeal as withdrawn without liberty to reapply. Subsequent to that, one station on 10th October 2019 also appeared before the tribunal and withdrew its appeal, and same was struck out as withdrawn. It is instructive to note that even though during the pendency of these appeals, some stations had submitted fresh applications for consideration in accordance with the previous ruling of the ECT, these applications could not be considered as their appeals were still pending. These are the bare facts, and I hope all commentators henceforth will desist from ascribing non-existent political motives to this exercise, which is just meant to ensure compliance with existing laws and regulations. The media should hold itself to the same high standards that it holds everyone else to. You are not above the law. Girls in ICT Initiative. As part of measures to bridge the gender gap existing in the information and communications technology ICT sector, member states of the International Telecommunications Union adopted the celebration of the Girls in ICT Initiative in 2012. Ghana has been celebrating it since then. In May 2019, the ministry celebrated the Girls in ICT in the Western region, training 600 students drawn from 9 districts in the region. We want to make it bigger and better, and so we've instituted a biannual instead of an annual celebration, and we'll be training 980 girls drawn from 14 districts in the Central region in November. The training of trainers has just been completed, and the training of the 980 girls starts today. The Mentorship Day and Climax event will be held in Cape Coast on 4th and 5th November 2019, respectively. The top 10% performing girls will spend a week in Accra, hanging out with women at work with technology in various industries to stimulate their interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education, leading to worthwhile careers in technology. The next stop for the Girls in ICT after the Central region will be the newly minted OT region in the first quarter of next year. We want to stimulate the interest of girls in STEM education and careers, demystify ICT, and narrow the gender-digital divide. And we have also just launched the Miss Geek Ghana competition, which is open to girls of ages 13 to 25 to excite them to innovate and to use technology to solve everyday challenges. Submission of entries is open until 10th November, and I'm using this opportunity to encourage all interested girls and young ladies to apply and hopefully win the attractive prizes on offer. The winner of the Miss Geek Ghana competition will represent Ghana at the Miss Geek Africa competition in Guinea-Conakry in March 2020 during the first Transform Africa Summit to be held outside Kigali, Rwanda. We have much more information to give you on the DTT implementation process, the Common Monitoring Platform, Rural Telephony Project, cybersecurity, and e-governance initiatives, amongst others, but will end here to prevent information overload. I hope to get another slot to continue this interaction in the not too distant future. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for your attention. And my favorites. I can sit down. Thank you.
How much more?
And that was Ursula Owusu, Minister for Communication, speaking at the Ministry of Information. Now, she's been speaking about the CST, the Communication Services Tax, and really just reiterating what has been already said in the press release that we got a few days ago. Now, she talks about the fact that the negative impact of the CST must be minimized, and in three ways that they're going to be able to do that. One, the CST should be treated the same way as other taxes. So as VAT and HIL Get Fund are treated and taken out at the end of use as opposed to at the beginning. She also talked about the fact that all unused data and voice calls, that's the amount of money that you have for voice calls, should be rolled over into the next month. And so really ending the era of expiration of unused data and voice calls. Also, she talked about the fact that MNQs will be subjected to strict compliance to ensure that the customers are getting value for money. She also talked about the need for CST, citing that Ghana's cybersecurity is not as good as it should be. It'll cost us about $100 million for the first year to really get it up to speed, and $250 million over a period of 5 years to develop a cybersecurity system that is on par with the rest of the world. She also talked about what has been going on with the radio stations, the shutdown of the radio stations since last year, and reminding us that about 57 out of 144 were closed down. 30 out of those 57 that were closed down have been able to get their standards back up to where they should be and have been reopened. So that was Ursula Owusu speaking at the Ministry of Information. And this is it for News Desk today. My name is Enimoa Enim Ado. Coming up next is JNI with Mapitso Sabidi. If you'd like more news, please go to myjoyonline.com. Have a wonderful day.